Another one of my actually like first ever fitness ones was Xena here. Um, and yeah, it's just there's audio and video problems. That's why I ended up, not publishing it. And it's one of the early ones you can see back when I just had a formula of like I didn't even mix up the questions at all, which is kind of funny, but you can enjoy it, everyone, and just blast from the past.
Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll have her do it for me. But we have on our podcast
Xenia.
Yep, she is on our podcast. Yep, I will now just be referring to her as she the entire time, or her, just because I'm not even gonna try that. I'm gonna fail miserably, and I'm just gonna embarrass everyone that's associated with this podcast. But she's coming to us all the way from Costa Rica. She's a certified personal trainer. She also does figure and bikini prep. But most importantly, she's our current guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I gotta ask first off, how are you? How are you in Costa Rica? What led you eventually going to Costa Rica?
Okay, well, I was doing some backpacking through the South Pacific in Australia, and I had just quit my job of 8 years, just finished. Well, I was in my last year of university. I left that behind. I was going through a bit of a breakup, and I just decided to go and travel the world. And I found myself on this little island called Aitutaki in the middle of nowhere, South Pacific. I was watching the sunset, and I said to myself, I am never going to work for somebody again. I'm going to do something for myself, with myself that, sparks my passion that I love, fitness, and I'm going to do it remotely. And I ended up here.
That's awesome, and I know I know this is going to end bad for me even if I ask this question. But what is the weather like in Costa Rica today?
Well, right now it's kind of. I'm going to show you right now. Right now it's kind of really rainy.
Oh wow! I was not expecting that.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good all day until we called. But the sun was shining. But now it's probably about 32 degrees.
Okay, yeah, that is. Are we talking Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Whatever Canada uses.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Celsius, because I was like, yeah, 32 degrees, that's freezing here. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, but yeah, it's about the same weather here. I mean, I'd say it's it's just rainy and dreary, and just depressing. But before we depress everyone with our weather woes, why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what inspired and what motivated you to get in shape and adapt this lifestyle?
Well, there's a lot that inspired me to get started, but I think where it started mostly when I was a kid. My dad was in a car accident, and he was left disabled, and I was being taken care of by my aunt and my cousins, and she was an Olympic sprinter. So she was babysitting me on the track while I'm watching her and like Donovan Bailey just racing and training for the Olympics, and my cousins were very, very fit. And I was like the fat cousin. I was the fat one. And I hate to say that, but they're always making fun of me. And I kind of felt, really insecure next to them. And I think that really sparked me to go into, running and being more active as a kid. So I think that's where it all started.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Well, I just gotta say, if you could just back up just a tad, just because sometimes our guests, you can get like where your eyes start disappearing, like up top, and then they just see like your mouth moving, or just move the camera up, just a little bit.
I'm gonna start from the platform.
Everything was good there, so I'll just use all that. But that's perfect then. Yeah, so because sometimes like we've had guests before where you can just like see their mouth like just like this, and I'm like, okay, that's that works. So I got all that in. So I'll edit all this, so then you won't even be able to tell the difference. But so in 3, 2, 1, I mean that's such a great story. And how long before you started the weight training aspect of this lifestyle?
Okay, so this is kind of cool. I got a fake ID when I was 15, and they were just, I think I was from Illinois. My name was like Michelle Antoinette Bassett on my ID, and while all the kids were going to the bars, I signed up for my first gym, and because you had to be 18 to join the YMCA, and I just really wanted to train, so I went and I used my fake ID and I got my first membership.
That is, I mean, that's probably one of the greatest yet lamest stories I've ever heard in my entire. You
Oh,
used
I
your
was
ID
so
to join.
lame.
You had all the power in the world to do whatever you want. But yeah, that's awesome. So I don't even think that in the U.S. that you have to have an ID to, or you have to be at an age limit to sign up for a membership. But is that just must be something? But that's again, that's just so awesome that you use that for a gym membership. But I mean, I'd love to ask all of my health and fitness guests that I have on the podcast, if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how those people got into shape, whether it comes down to their diet, their nutrition, how many reps they do, what exercises they do. So many little things add up to the overall package that people end up seeing. Was that a struggle for you when you were getting started, just sort of figuring out what worked best for your body? Because I always say, if you were to walk up to someone and say, hey, what do you train for this body part? It looks amazing. What works best for them might not work as good for you.
Mhm. I think what matters the most is something you can be consistent with. I started doing like Billy Blank's Tae Bo in my mom's living room when I was a kid, and I think that worked for me to start. I used to be obese. I was 210 pounds in my teens, and I started doing workout videos, and then I got my fake ID and went to the gym. And I think what really matters the most is what you're going to be consistent and keep on doing.
No, it's all about consistency. Now, I always say you're sort of like a mad scientist trying to concoct your own potion. I mean, it's a time process where so many people just, especially the younger generation, where they want everything now and they want it yesterday. They don't realize that, hey, it takes time. It's not going to be something that happens overnight, which actually that leads me perfectly into a myth and stereotype that I love to bust. We talked about this right before we started recording, but I mean, it's gotten better the last 5 years due to Instagram, but there are still so many women that have that fear where, if they work out, if they lift one weight, they're just going to, hulk out and put on 50 pounds of muscle overnight. How do you like to respond to that? And did you have that fear when you were getting started?
I think, how can I put this? I think social media and brands these days do a lot of marketing to try and get money from younger people with promises like use this detox tea or do this 10-day program or do, some sort of miracle magic fix is going to promise them, really fast results. So I don't think that really helps with the whole um, concept of immediate results. Does that make sense? But I think, what was the question again?
Oh, did you have that fear when you were getting started? And how do you like to respond to that if people come up to you and they say, "Oh, I'm just afraid that I'm going to get too big if I lift a weight"?
I say if you find out a way to get too big by lifting a weight, let me know. I will pay top dollar for that secret. Because it doesn't. First of all, women do not have the hormones naturally to create that kind of muscle, especially that quickly. I've been training for probably 16 years, 16, 17 years, and I'm not as big as I want to be for the pro stage as an IFBB Pro figure athlete. You're not going to get big. You're not going to get big. I think um, there's this whole misconception with, oh, I just want to tone. I just want to be, you know, skinny. And people don't understand that toning is essentially building muscle and then losing a bit of fat to reveal that muscle. And that's what the tone look is. A woman will be like a million things before she gets big. And in order for her to get big, she needs to take some pretty serious drugs. So
And again, if you get big naturally, give me a call. I have my phone number. I will gladly
yes.
talk to you. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But again, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And one thing that I think impacts women so much more positively than it does men from working out is just that confidence boost that you get from working out. I mean, I always say, we've had so many stories on this podcast of women who have made life-changing decisions. I mean, it's really just helped their overall lives with everything that happens when they find that motivation and that just that confidence boost. How have you taken that confidence boost that you get from working out and use it to impact all other aspects of your life?
Well, and that's exactly what I do. Like that's exactly what I'm always telling my clients is fitness is well, confidence comes from proving to yourself over and over that you're going to see something through, that you're going to accomplish something. The more you challenge yourself to push past your perceived limits, the more confidence you're going to have that spills over into everything else that you do. So for me, I come from a very insecure past. Like I was bullied very badly growing up, and I remember I got to a point where I couldn't hold a conversation with somebody and look them in the eyes because I just did not feel worthy. I felt inferior at all times. And I think through training, well, I know through training gave me the sense of confidence that I couldn't find anywhere else. So that goes out into everything else that you do. When you see that you can see something through, that you can stick to a plan, to a goal, and you can accomplish really great things, then you start developing this confidence to do it in everything else in your life. I started businesses. I moved to Costa Rica. I traveled the world. I've done some pretty awesome things, and I totally owe it all to fitness, to training.
I was gonna say myself, just look at where she is right now. Look at all that, just for that confidence boost. But yeah, I mean, it impacts so many people, and that's one thing that I don't think is preached enough. Is that can really help you with your life is when you start working out. But I love to talk genetics because I mean, there's such a big misconception where a lot of it, with especially with the culture that we live in, is, oh, I want to look like that person. I want to look like just like that person. I want this person's arms. I want this person's stomach. I want this person's legs. I mean, people don't realize that you're just going to be the best version of yourself. You cannot have so and so. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I always love to talk genetic wise because everyone, when they get started in the gym, they always have that one body part that really, really takes off, that they don't have to train as much, and then they have that one body part that just lags behind, that they have to train to oblivion to get it to catch up. I mean, I'll give you my examples first. My back, just because I had jobs all throughout college of working in warehouses and lifting and loading, box cars. So, I mean, you either got a really nice back or you quit. That was basically the two options that were presented to yourself. But I'm also 6'3", so my legs and my lower body are just shot where, I mean, I have to train them into overdrive just to get them to look like they have any semblance like I work out. I mean, I still get comments all the time from friends like, oh, hey, Ryan, you plan on lifting legs anytime this year? And then it's like, oh, yeah, you guys are really, really funny. But what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
My delts are like, they started popping from Tybo. So, I mean, they're not massive, but they started taking their shape when I was doing just cardio. So I can look at them and they'll grow. For me, I think my back, my lats are stubborn for me, and I have trouble activating. I can't do a pull up. I can't do a single pull up. Not a single pull up. Yeah.
Well, at least
Yeah.
she's honest about that, everyone.
No,
I mean, I
can't do 'em.
appreciate that. Yeah. Is that something that you're working on?
I am. So I'm working with actually a physiotherapist right now who is doing some fascia releasing and mobility work for me. I think a lot has to do with my breast implants, to be honest. It's really held back my mobility. I'm also pretty heavy. Like, I'm sitting at 170 pounds. Yeah, well, 168 pounds right now. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. I'm working on the fascia. I'm working on mobility and just trying to get things to fire properly.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'7" 3/4.
Oh, I was gonna say because if you're like, I'm 5 feet tall, and I was like, oh, at 160, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're definitely packing it on. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and that's one thing that I'm really glad that you admitted that, because one big misconception that a lot of people have is they think that bodybuilders are just like these super. I mean, they are strong, they do work out a lot, but they're not power lifters. I mean, a lot of times people get so misconstrued with the fact that they think that if someone's a power lifter, they might not look. Some power lifters, let's face it, they don't even look like they lifted a weight in their entire lives, and they walk in the gym and they're benching ungodly amounts of weight. And then you look at bodybuilders who look like they bench houses for a living basically, and they can't like you can't even do a pull-up. But yeah, it just goes to show that you don't judge someone just by the way that they look. But yeah, I mean, I always say calves for me are my number one pet peeve, just because that is the most genetic thing that you'll ever have in your entire life. I mean,
I have like massive grapefruit calves.
Screw you! Come on, that's ridiculous.
I can't even train them. Like, if I train them, they blow up even more. I can't do it.
I always said
I have no biceps though. The biceps, I go heavy. I train them every single day. I can't get them to fill out either. So it's genetics. But powerlifting and bodybuilding are two very different sports, and I think they get mixed up all the time. Like, I get guys yelling at me in the street like, "Hey, how much do you squat?" And I'm like, 60 pounds. What's it to you?
I always just used to respond more than you. That's the only response. That's the response that I would give. But yeah, and I usually talk about that later on the podcast, but it's already been brought up. I mean, when you're really in shape, I mean, especially for being for a woman, I mean, you are going to get looks, you are going to get stares. How have you adjusted to that? Because I mean, you're almost sort of like a mini celebrity when you go out, where people, I mean, you're going to get stares because people are fascinated by it.
I think it's especially this happens a lot here in Costa Rica. Bodybuilding isn't really as popular out here in Costa Rica, especially in the small beach town that I'm in. But if I go out to like a fair or carnival, I get girls or guys ask me to take photos with me and take my signature, and I'm like, I haven't even done a pro show yet. Like, I'm nobody. I'm just your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder. I think it's really cool to be able to inspire people, as long as they come at me with respect. I mean, I get weird DMs all the time, like, "Hey, I'll pay you $10,000 to put on some stilettos and crush baby animals naked." And I'm like, That's really, really weird, dude. Or how much to flex for me in like a thong? And I'm like, do you say this to normal people? No, you don't. No.
That's one thing that I found that I had no idea about until I started this podcast. And I was like, okay, I wouldn't even have an Instagram account if I was one of these. Like, I would just be like, okay, screw this. I'm done with social media. Goodbye. But yeah, that's one thing. That's why I always, I always try to be extra nice when I'm messaging people to come on the podcast, because I was like, God, they get enough crap as it is. So, I got to make sure that they don't think that I'm like that. But yeah, I mean, I always just found that so shocking, where I was like, okay, yeah, that is just absolutely ridiculous. But one thing that I think so many people do not get, that it's such a hard thing for so many competitors. I mean, I always say the hardest thing for a lot of them actually is posing, where, I mean, it's such a hard thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's harder than your nutrition. It's harder than your working out. I mean, I like to compare it now to being a perfect driver, where you can be a great driver. You can never be a perfect driver. You can be a great poser. You can never be a perfect poser. It's always ever evolving. What has your experience with posing been like?
I feel like I need a lot more work with my posing. I think everyone always does need more work with the posing. My first competition, my first figure competition rather, looking at the videos from it, I didn't even know how to do a lat spread. Like I took so many posing classes and I just couldn't flare my lats. I remember, my last prep, sitting on Skype with my coach, and she's doing posing classes with me, and I was standing there dripping sweat, as it was like I was doing more cardio. It was like more sweat than cardio, and you're just holding the poses. And after a good hour of posing practice, you are so sore. Like I never feel my lats flare up and like hurt like that until after I finish a posing class.
That's one thing that so many people don't get too, is that these workouts, some of these workouts that you do and then have posing after, your posing is going to get you more sore than your workouts, just because
Oh yeah.
just your body is not meant to be in a flex state for that long. But out of your figure poses, what is your favorite pose to do, and what is your least favorite pose to do?
Oh, I love the side pose. The side pose where you're twisting your torso. It's also partially kind of my least favorite pose as well, because it really hurts when you're trying to twist your chest over your ribs. I feel the front pose is kind of awkward, as weird as that is, because you're kind of just, your arms are out, your shoulders are flared, you have like no neck, but you're trying to have a neck because that's what you got to do. It's a really awkward pose for me.
I always said, in the unlikely world where I competed in women's bodybuilding, I would say the back pose for me would be my favorite, just because you can let your breath down a little bit, you can breathe a little bit, you can kind of just relax. Because I had a guest from Australia on, and she was talking about how, she put her smile down for like 20 seconds during callouts, and they took a few points off of that for her. And it's one thing that a lot of people don't get to, is that, I mean, that smile is just such a huge thing in the sport, that, I mean, your jaw muscles are going to be the most sore probably out of everything in your body after those shows. But you guys unfortunately also have to wear heels. What is your experience like in those heels? Because let's face it, the posing in and of itself is hard enough, but doing it in heels, that's just asking for trouble.
Oh man. Okay. Well, to give you a comparison, I earned my pro card last year, in Costa Rica, and when I went to register for my figure competition, somebody there was like, "You should try doing physique as well. You're conditioned enough to do physique." And I'm like, "I've never done a physique pose before. I've never done one second, phone. And I don't have a routine, but I'm like, I'll do it. Why not? Let's give it a try." And I think the physique posing is absolutely beautiful. I really, really enjoyed that one. And you're barefoot, so you don't have to worry about wearing heels. Figure, okay, I think I might wear heels 3 times a year, and those are usually on competition day. So I think you have to learn how to walk in the shoes. You have to, I'll be doing laundry and doing my dishes in the shoes, leading up to the show, just so I get comfortable and used to them. People don't realize that those shoes are so narrow when you buy them, or before you put them on, that you need to stretch them out. You have blow dryers to them. You try and heat them up to like expand like the plastic part of the shoe, and then just wearing it hurts. It hurts. And then on top of that, you're dehydrated. My legs get shaky before I go on stage. So even to this day, they still get shaky. And trying to wear heels, and yeah, it's a bit of a challenge for sure.
I always say, just adding on to the check mark of, things that they got to make these competitors go through just to get on stage. I mean, apparently the workout and the nutrition isn't hard enough, so they got to make it a little bit more difficult. But as you can see, I'm one of the palest people that you'll ever meet in your entire life. I mean, my thick Norwegian skin, I mean, I just either get burnt to an absolute crisp, or I get farmer's tan, where, let's be honest, that is not a real tan, no matter how many times people try to tell you that. But so I've never been tan a day in my life, but bodybuilders get tan. I always love to ask, what is that feeling like for you when you get that tan on? And we hear so many stories about, how you see muscles that you never even knew that you had. Everything really seems to pop out. What is that like for you when you get to see the finished product that you've worked so hard on?
Well, first, let me just tell you that when you're getting spray tan, you're freezing. It is so cold because like you're saying there completely like naked. Some stranger is there, spraying you this spray tan, which is freezing, and you see everyone else around you is naked. It's kind of awkward. But I think the first time I was spray tan, my first competition, I got back to my hotel room and I looked at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, holy, this is me. Like this is me. And this is before the carbs. And you have your first set of carbs, and they get into your muscles, and you're just like, how is this me? Like you don't believe that this is what you look like. But you have a white face, so you get like bronze, and your face is just completely white, which looks ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I always said another thing that you got to worry about with the tan is that you can't sit on anything, you can't lean against anything. You basically have to become a human statue. I mean, again, just what.
It's not that bad. I mean, I think like after a dry, well, for the first maybe hour, but after it dries, like the night before when they spray you, after it dries, you're okay. You just don't want to sleep in white sheets.
Yeah, that too. So I mean, yeah, it's just another thing that has to go on for the finished product. But when you do walk on stage, I mean, I always, ask my bands that I have on, what is that feeling like when you get to go on stage and perform live in front of, hundreds of thousands of people? But that also applies to the bodybuilders that I have on. What is that feeling like for you when you get to walk up on stage and show off all of that hard work that you've worked months upon months on?
I have goosebumps just thinking about it. I actually have goosebumps. It's crazy. It happens really quickly. It happens like you're up there, and I still have goosebumps. It happens really, really quickly, and I think the most powerful moments is when you're lining up backstage before you go up there, and your heart is pounding. Oh, geez, you realize. I mean, for me, I know I take my preps really seriously. Like for me, I prep to win, so I give every day my full effort, and like, I'm really proud of the work that I put in. And I think to myself, all those struggles that I had, every like challenge that I faced leading up to like this moment, and here I am, and I did it, and I'm freaking proud of myself. And then you get up there, and you just have fun. Like you're showing off what you did. You're showing off your work. It's just a really cool, fun, empowering experience.
The thing that really just makes it even more impressive for me is the fact that, I mean, you guys work for months upon months, and sometimes you're only up on stage for a minute or a few minutes. And does that time really seem to fly by, or does it seem to take forever when you're on stage, or is it sort of a mixture?
I think it depends. Like if they're asking you to hold your back pose for 5 minutes, it takes forever. In my experience as a figure athlete, you go up there once to do your model walk, like your introduction walk, and you do your posing by yourself on stage, and then they do the comparison. So we have maybe about 5 minutes on stage. It goes by really, I don't know. It's both fast and slow. Like you're up and you're off, and then you're also just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's surreal. It's very. I can remember every second so clearly as if it was like a month of my life, but it happened like that.
It's an experience that, I mean, I just can't even begin to imagine what it must be like. But now we go to a fun question. What is your go-to post-show meal?
You know what? Okay, this is gonna sound really boring, but after I competed, I went just to the restaurant in the hotel. I was just really tired, and I had a steak with rice and vegetables and a glass of wine. That's all I had.
Hey,
I know.
no,
get
it's
so
not.
after I
Believe me, we've had some people that have like tried to eat a salad, and I was like, okay, I feel just so bad for you. It's like, what went wrong in your life that you're doing that? But I mean, yeah, it's again.
I feel sick. I feel sick after I compete. Like I can't just eat food, like regular food. I try, I'll throw up. Like my 2 competitions ago, I went to a restaurant, had fries, like poutine, I had a cheesecake, and I got through half of it, and I puked my guts out for the rest of the night. I couldn't handle it.
Again, another thing people don't realize is that you're not gonna just pig out once you go compete in bodybuilding, because it's you've been dieted down for so long that your body's not used to eating all that food, so you will get sick if you try to do that. Although I always said if I ever competed, I would rent out a Five Guys the night after and just be like, here's $1,000, I'm renting you out for the night. Just you're gonna feed me until I either die, pass out, or throw up. Either way, I'm getting my money's worth. But for all the pros that I have on the show, I always love to ask, what is that experience like when you won your pro card? What
Oh
was
my
that like
god.
when they announced your name and you realized, oh my god, I'm a pro now?
I I bawled my eyes out on stage. Like I cried. It was surreal. I went through a lot my last prep, and I think I hadn't competed in 4 years prior to my last competition, and I got up there, and they called. It was between me and this other girl, and they called my name out for the pro card, and I just stood there. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I don't really know how to describe that. It was just a really surreal moment. And I don't think it really hit me until about a week later.
And I just, yeah, just for anyone out there who's wondering, I mean, getting your pro card, that's the highlight for so many people that we have on this podcast, just because that is the validation that all of that hard work that they put in the gym is, finally paid off, and they can compete in pro shows now. But another myth and, misconception that I think it's a harmful one that I love to bust is that, so many people don't realize that look that you guys put on stage, that is not a sustainable look. I mean, I've had so many friends that are just like, oh, wow, I'm shocked that, they're not able to maintain that, because I think so many people watch shows like The Biggest Loser, and then they see these people lose 150 pounds, and then, they're able to keep it off, but then they think the same thing for the bodybuilders, where they're like, oh, if they work, just as hard as, anyone else, and, they're able to put that look on stage, they should be able to keep that. But they don't realize that, I mean, you guys have sort of manipulated your body through all the things that you do with working out and with your nutrition and taking away your water at the end, or just all the other little things that happen. What was that like when you first realized that, hey, I am not going to be able to maintain this look? And has it gotten easier to accept that as your career has gone on?
Definitely. I remember the first time I did my very first peak week for my first show, and I always refer to it as smoke and mirrors with my clients, because I do online training, and I have a big online community of women who I work with. So they witness my preps, and I'm always telling them, like, guys, this is not real life. I don't think for a second that what I'm doing is A, healthy, B, sustainable, C, you're gonna see some weird stuff happening right now, and just I give them kind of like a buffer so they understand what's going on. It's smoke and mirrors. It's not real. So yeah, you work a ridiculous amount to get ready for your peak, and then peak week happens. They deplete you. You get depleted. You cut your sodium a little bit. You manipulate your electrolytes. You take diuretics. You do special workouts to like deplete the muscles of all glycogen, and then you then do like a water load and a bit of a water cut, and all this stuff happens, and you just dry up. Like it just everything, all the water under your skin just goes away, and you turn into this like saran wrap, looking like this tight thing, and it's not real. It's not easy to sustain that. So the first time I did it, I remember I was pretty shocked as to how I looked, going into my carb up phase, and then afterwards, like, the water retention that came after competing and eating real foods again was pretty bad too. I find for about 1 to 2 weeks after competing, I blowed up and I just hold so much water. So you go from being like super lean to being very watery, and you put on 15 pounds of water for 2 weeks until your hormones regulate post competition. So
yeah, I mean, I always was just so shocked by that, where so many people just don't get that. And I always say, if you just see bodybuilders in their off season, some of them might not even look like they even really compete, or I mean, they just look like they're in shape individuals. Where I mean, yeah, so many people I think need to realize that, because when they try to compare themselves and say like, oh, I want to look like that person, they don't realize, like, that person looks like that for that day and that day alone. Check on them in 2 weeks, and you might be surprised what you find with that. But I mean, it's just really fascinating. But how early in your life did you decide that you wanted to help out others and become a personal trainer? Was that as soon as you started lifting, or was that after a while where you're just like, hey, that seems like something that I'd be interested in?
I think I've always been like into fitness. I've always been excited about it. I think when I was able to overcome my insecurities, as we talked about before, and grow and become more confident through fitness, I realized how much it had helped me and changed me and changed my life. So I felt like I wanted to help other people go through it as well. As I started to put on more muscle and get into regular training, people come to me like, hey, how did you get this to look like that? How did you lose this weight? And I started giving advice out, and then my friends wanted to come to the gym with me, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So I think I've always, I'd say probably at the age around 20, I started to want to train people, and I realized that it was my passion, and that's just what I wanted to do. So.
What would you say, being that you help out others, what would you say is probably the biggest excuse that you get from people when you're trying to get them to adapt a healthy lifestyle?
Schedule. They don't have time. They don't have time, or they have families that eat different foods. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty. I think everyone has tight schedules to one extent. I think I'm probably the busiest person that I know. I know it took us a long time to try and get this interview going.
I can vouch for that, everyone. She's a very busy person.
I've got like 3 businesses going. I take care of my household, my dogs, my family, all kinds of stuff that's going on. I find that if I don't have my schedule set, if I don't have like everything, it's just like playing Tetris with your schedule. Okay, I'm gonna fit this in here. I think that's the hardest part for most people, but for me, that's my it's a set part of my day. It's going to happen, and everything else can fall around that piece of my schedule. So, and as for eating with eating what's in the house, I think you can make a meal for your family of foods that serve your goals, and then make an add-on for, like, say if you have kids, like maybe mac and cheese on the side or something else that would appease them, and then have a balanced meal, and you just don't eat what they're eating. You have like the prep meals that fit your goals, and then everything else you can just give to everyone else because you still eat together.
No, 100%. And it's all, yeah. One thing that a lot of people I think struggle with is when they first start competing is that, a lot of people think that you can't go out with friends and you can't go out to eat. But I mean, if you bring your own stuff, you can still, have that social time that a lot of people who don't understand that really crave when they're competing, because they basically cut out their friends a lot of the time. And, but just being able to realize that, hey, you can, have that social aspect in your life and still, train and be healthy and strong. But two of the questions that I love to ask every guest that I have on health and fitness wise, I mean, for the first one, I mean, there have been so many positive things that have happened to me since, I started getting bigger and stronger and adapting the lifestyle. But one of the negative things is that you're always going to get asked to move people's furniture. You're always going to get asked to open pickle jars or bottled water or anything that's sealed on tight. I mean, you're the go-to person for that. I mean, I'm still at home with my parents for the next month. And then, every time they come home with groceries, I basically have to lift the car into the driveway and carrying the groceries with them, being the good son that I am. But has that been a similar experience with you, where people just take one look at you and they just assume that you can do favors for them? Or, they always might just be like, oh, hey, I got something that's stuck. Can you help me with? Has that been similar for you too?
I think when I go back to Toronto to see my family, my mom's always like, "Hey, can you help me move the couch?" Or "Can you help me?" And I bring these boxes upstairs. So when my parents are definitely eager to use my muscles for sure. But other people, no, I don't find I have that issue.
Lucky. I would say, well, but I would say being 6'3", I could have zero muscle at all, and people would still be like, "Oh, hey, tall guy, come and help this." So it's something that I'm used to, but yeah, it's just like it's always fascinating once you put on a tad bit of muscle. For a lot of people, I mean, people just start asking you to do stuff for them. But probably my favorite question to ask, and the audience favorite as well, is obviously there are problems for fit guys when it comes to clothing, but for fit women, I mean, you guys have your own clothing problems, where, I mean, I always say if you have big broad shoulders, dresses sometimes aren't your best friend. Jeans are another thing that we hear of all the time, where, I mean, if you have a big lower body and a small waist, jeans are not made for that. What have been some ways that you found that you're able to compensate for the fact that your clothing options can be very limited, and the fact that you basically have to have two wardrobes, your prep wardrobe and your off-season wardrobe?
Oh yeah. Um, Tights are life. I live in tights. I don't like buying dresses with cap sleeves. I feel like Batman in those. Jeans, I need belts with them. I don't like jeans anyways. They're not comfortable for me anymore. My quads bust out of them, and they're too big in the waist, and it's too hot here anyways for jeans. Yeah, wardrobe is definitely interesting. I do have a shelf of clothing that I wear when I'm in prep, and I try not to look at it when I'm in the off season because it's kind of discouraging a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely a how do I put that? It's definitely a challenge sometimes going shopping. Like I don't do a lot of online shopping for clothing anymore because I there's probably 8 times out of 10 it's not going to fit me. But yeah, it's definitely an issue.
Again, I had two fashion guys come on the podcast at one point. I told them, I said, hey, we have all these people that are looking for clothing options. Get on it. They haven't got on it yet. But again, anyone out there, I mean, it's a big idea where you make clothes for fit people. I mean, so many people have tried it, but they're still looking for that premier brand that really takes off and really, does it for everyone. But what is your favorite part about living in Costa Rica? What thing appeals to you most about living there?
Well, it's beautiful here. Like it's just stunning. There's so many different climates, so many different, when an hour drive in any direction, you're gonna end up either at a volcano or a different beach or like a sloth sanctuary, or you might see crocodiles crossing the street. Like it's really, really cool. For me, I work all the time. Like I'm putting in 16-hour days, minimum, working on my business. So I have my view, which I just showed you, which is just the ocean, and I love that more than anything. I'm not freezing, and that's the biggest thing for me. I hate being cold, so there's no winters. And the people here are beautiful. They're just really, really. It's a very altruistic community. People are very warm, and welcoming, and it's a beautiful place to be.
As someone who's wearing a sweater right now, yeah, I understand what you're talking about with the cold. And being in Minnesota, I mean, I always love those one or two times where it reaches negative 30 degrees every winter. I mean, those are great. Those are great times. That's the times where, you go out and you have fun, You know, yeah, you go and have picnics. Yep, but no, so I could not blame anyone for moving to Costa Rica. I've heard good things about it. So yeah, that's awesome. But now we go to our last part of the podcast, a little questionnaire where we're going to ask our guest here about a half dozen or so questions and see how our answers stack up to every other health and fitness guest that we've had on the podcast. So for our first question, what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge at all times?
Meal prep.
Any specific type of meal prep? Any specific type of food?
I need to have my salad kits. I love my salad kits. Like I don't use the dressing that's in them, but just to have like prepared lettuce and vegetables. So I just grab them and put them onto my plate with my protein. I like to have my fish, my chicken, my meats prepared, and my carbs prepared as well. So just easy for me to grab and go and eat because I'm hungry all the time.
All right, I'm gonna drop a bomb on everyone. I have had the last time I had salad. I think I was like 7 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Okay.
Never. I mean, I've wanted to maybe give it a try eventually, but yeah, I'm a particularly picky eater. So yeah, I mean, fruits and veggies. You know, I'll have an apple, I'll have bananas. You know, I'll have carrots and all that and some of that stuff. But you know, with salad, I have never tried it, but I being that I've done this podcast for so long, I might eventually just try it and see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah. I'm so lazy when it comes to washing vegetables. Like I won't eat unwashed lettuce. I won't eat like everything that I consume has been washed or peeled, and I'm meticulous with that. So buying salad kits are like triple washed and they're just easy to grab and go. It's so hassle free for me. I love it.
I was gonna say that's the best part about meat. You just put it in the stove, or you put it wherever, and it's good to go. You don't gotta wash it or anything. But moving on the questionnaire, out of all of your followers that you have, what is one thing that you think they'd be most shocked to find out about you if they met you in person?
What's a good question? I don't even know how to answer that one. Most shocked. Probably. Let me think about that one.
I would have never guessed that you were Canadian.
Really? Okay, I'm Canadian. I'm the first one in my family, well, like the first generation born in Canada.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So is it originally from Greece?
No, my family's Russian.
Oh, Russia. Oh, okay. Yep.
The name, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say. Well, I was gonna say. Yeah. Now that I think about it, now that I look at the name too. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does get. I mean, Daja Oglnik was my first podcast guest, and she was from Russia too. So yeah, I should have guessed it. But yeah, that's.
I have a good one for you. Okay, things that people might be surprised to hear about me. I was kidnapped. Yeah, I was kidnapped. And it was a very, very bad situation, but I was kidnapped at the age of 17. And yeah. No. Goodness, yeah. I'm like, should I tell them? Should I like, let that one go? I'm like, yeah, I can drop it. I'm good.
Moving on now in the questionnaire, if someone were to walk up to you and say, you know, hey, we made the decision, you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
I gotta be careful how I say this. I personally, I don't like the direction figure has been going. I think the girls are unattainably big, and they're getting bigger each year. So like, it is discouraging for people who want to enter figure. I know there's a lot of talk in the industry of girls who are not doing well in figure anymore because they don't have that size, looking to do other categories like wellness. So it's hard to find your spot in bodybuilding if you're not like a bikini girl and a massive, amazing figure athlete.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've heard too, and especially with the physique competitors that we have on going on too. I think every division is slowly getting more and more muscular. Like you have some bikini girls that look like figure girls that look like bikini, or I mean figure girls that look like physique, and then you have some physique that look like bodybuilders. So yeah, I've always found that interesting. And if I were to ask you, what would you predict the sports would be at, like let's say like 5 years? Where do you think eventually they'll decide to turn it back a ways and go back to the more traditional looks, or do you think it's going to continue going up?
Well, right now, they just did. I read somewhere that there's breaking news that the IFBB is bringing back women's bodybuilding, and I think that's when things started to turn for like the bigger for figure and physique girls. When they removed women's bodybuilding from the pro stage, the bodybuilders turned to the physique athletes, the physique athletes turned to the figure athletes, and then people who were originally figure athletes just didn't fit anywhere because bikini is just something completely different, right? So they're bringing it back. So I'm hoping that that's going to change the judges' desired look for figure. That's what I'm hoping for.
And yeah, I honestly think that that actually might help though, because now that the bodybuilders can then go back to their own division, yeah, that might help to even things out. But now, if you could go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
Stay focused. Don't take anyone's shit. People's opinions have nothing to do with your reality. I think that's what it is. Because I think people at the age of 17, 18 tend to hold too much value to what others think of them, and that's just so destructive and crippling that if I could tell myself not to let that get to me, I would be a lot further, I think.
I would also say that, and I'd also give myself, some stock advice. Invest in Amazon a little bit, invest in Google. You can never go
buy
wrong.
some Bitcoin.
Yeah, invest in Bitcoin. You can never go wrong with a little friendly advice like that. But now, if we were to talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at in your life? Where would you like to be at with your business? Just what are some goals that you would like to have achieved if we were to talk to you a year from today?
Okay. Well, my goals are pretty clear. I've been doing. Oh, my battery might die. 10%. I can do this. Okay. My goals are pretty clear. I do online transformation challenges, and I've just switched over into a subscription service for my personal training online. And I'm hoping to build that to a point where it's sustainable income. So I'm looking to expand that business, and I want to compete at Olympia. That would be like a dream come true for me. The 2020 Olympics.
So where can people find you if they want to get in with your subscription service? If they want to join, where can they find it?
It's on my Instagram. IFBB_Pro_ Xenia. I haven't launched the subscription just yet. It's in a pre-launch phase, only open to current clients. I haven't started the marketing or back end set up, but the actual marketing is not set up yet. But it should be going live in about a week.
All right. Well, yeah, and when this will be published, probably like 2 or 3 weeks from when we're recording this, so it'll be perfect then because it'll be up by then. So everyone, I'll leave a link to all that stuff down below. And lastly, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
My mom, my dad, my brother. I love you guys. I being in a Russian family, we are so close knit, so involved in each other's lives. Being far away from them is one of the hardest things for me. I talk to them every single day, and I love them more than anything.
That's awesome. And again, you guys, we cannot wish her nothing but the best of luck. And it was so great having you on. And everyone, go and give her a follow on Instagram, and I'll leave a link to all of that stuff down below. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey. It was great. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.